All right, I am with Ed, and Ed, of course, if you've been following the Sci-Fi Diner for the past year, you will know that we interviewed Ed and talked about his R2 droid last year, and so we have updates, Ed, and thanks for coming and joining us again at the Sci-Fi Diner.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, let's start off with something that you commented on when we met you earlier in the video. You said there are the top 10 questions you get asked about building the R2 droid.
Yeah.
You don't have to run through all of them. Give us some of the ones you can just pull
see what I can remember.
Yeah, so you can pull off the top of your head at the end of Shore Leave Day 2, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I mean, some of the top questions would probably be, first of all, how much did it cost?
Right.
And, how long did it take to build? That's probably one of the second questions.
Okay, so let's start with the first one.
Okay. Cost, yeah. I've been told that some people have been able to build them with $500 to $1,000.
And that's with duct tape, right?
That's what I would think. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. But they say that it's been done with complete electronics and lights and sound and everything for that sort of price tag. But if you go with the route of using mostly club-made parts, you're probably going to spend $5,000 or $6,000 to build those.
Okay.
And if it's an entirely aluminum droid and you put all the bells and whistles in there, it can be $8,000, $10,000, even $12,000. So, yeah, it gets expensive really fast.
And so, question 2, how long?
Question 2 is, okay. Most people, I think, take a couple of years, just working on it here and there, an evening here, a weekend there, that sort of thing. I've known people who've thrown them together into a handful of months. Start collecting parts for 3 months and then spend the next 3 months putting it together and then they're done. It's very rare for somebody to get it done that fast, especially because of the availability of the parts that they're looking for. That may stop you from doing that. Most people don't have 40 hours a week to put into it. Obviously. There's all that
day
sort of
the day job thing, right?
Right, exactly. Right. So mine's 2.5 years and counting. I didn't work on them at all in the last 4 months until last week, where I just tried to get a few things done in time for shortly. For shortly, exactly.
So how much more work do you anticipate having to put into your droid?
It's deceptive because it's one of those. It's kind of like in any sort of engineering or programming, they have like a 90-10 or 80-20 kind of rule, where if you go with the 80-20, it's you can get 80% of the work done 20% of the time, and then the last 20% of the work it takes the remaining 80% of the time. So, and it's very much the case. I had, once I really dove into it, inside of 2 months I had the thing assembled and driving around with sound effects and lights, and it looked not that much different than it does today. And that was a year and a half ago. And I worked on it pretty diligently for the following year after that. And you don't see a whole lot of difference. But the devil's in the details. Yeah,
the back's on.
Yeah, the back panel's on. I have a different skin this year than I had last year. This is the aluminum one, so I had to do that completely, starting over with what I had on the previous skin. The bulk of my time late last year was just working on his feet. Last year, I just saw the structure and the motor sticking out the side and everything. Here they actually look like proper feet, even though they're not done. I spent an enormous amount of time just working on getting the foot shells to actually fit on the structure, even though they were meant to go together. As soon as you start adding glue in there and trying to fit them together, and you start to realize that unless you permanently build it in there, you have to shave some of the plastic off so that you can get pieces in and out if you need to. So it was just months of working one night a week just to get the feet to actually go together. So now I'm still missing, there's hose pieces that are supposed to attach on the front of the feet. I don't have those on there yet. I broke most of the glue seams on here, just putting them in and out of its crate, so I have to re-glue all of it, and there's just tape holding it together from now. So it's one of those things where you look at it and there's a lot to do, even though it doesn't really look like there's a lot to do.
And it looks good. It looks like it looks good.
Yeah, he's getting there. Yeah, thank you.
And great. So I mean, this is going to be probably a year, 2 years at least.
Easily. Yeah.
And it's one of the things you can take or continue to add and take away.
Absolutely. And in fact, a lot of people treat it that way. They get it to the point where it looks correct and it drives around and it makes sound effects. And they might, whether it takes them 6 months or 2 years to do that, they get it to that point first. And then they start thinking about, well, maybe I can have this panel open and have the data arm sticking out. Maybe I can add a periscope out of it.
Right.
So something along those lines.
Something that throws a lightsaber out.
Right, exactly. And that's one of my wish lists items, is to actually eject a lightsaber out of the top of this thing. Make it out of styrofoam or something so it doesn't hurt anybody.
Nerf.
Yeah, and I keep joking about actually putting a real cattle prod in the front of this thing just so I can get in the crowds.
Right.
People will move when they see that.
Just a little, or even if it like jumps.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, why don't you show us a little bit about, let's move the droid again, have it run around a little bit, and talk about that, and you can show us how it goes.
Yep, I'll power him up.
Prometheus Radio Theater. A live band for dancing and a costume contest.
You can drive around and sound effects.
Adam Baldwin and their guest lineup. Adam joins John Billingsley and Anita.
That's basically how he can move. I have control over both feet and his head rotation, and that's about it at this moment. Eventually I may rig up some remote control buttons to turn lights on and off and that sort of thing. But for now, this is what it is.
Now, you had showed us yesterday about some of his internals. Would you be able to show us the inside of it real quickly?
He just, the head just lifts right off. It sticks a little bit, if I can get it straight. That's the trick, just pulling it straight. Which I'm not doing. That's because I can't tilt these.
That's okay, we can edit that. There we go. So the head has its own battery then?
Yes, the head is independently powered, and that allows it to spin freely, and without any kind of wires binding up or anything like that. And deep down inside here,
he blew his top.
There's actually I can show you the light here. I can show you there's one of the motor controllers in here which controls the dome rotation, and back here this is the radio receiver. There's this small little component right here that you can hardly see, and this is the whole audio system is what all this wiring is back here. The battery is a very large black box down in the middle, which you probably won't be able to see in the video, but it's just all the way at the bottom there is a big black rectangle.
Why is that his head on?
Right, and then this is the internal head. Can I lift his head up?
Mm-hmm. So that people can see how it works.
How much does the head itself weigh?
I'd say the head is probably 10 or 15 pounds. I'm guessing. I haven't actually weighed any of these components, so I'm not sure.
By themselves, at least.
Right.
You said the entire droid's, what, 80 pounds?
That's what I'm guessing.
About 80
It's
pounds?
enough that I can just barely lift him up and down the steps to my house if I take the head off.
Right.
So,
Well, this is great.
yeah. Same here. There's several boards that control the logic for the lighting. There's a large battery here in the center.
And it's center why?
And it's centered so that, well, that's kind of a rookie mistake that some people make, is to put the battery mounted somewhere on the side, and that sort of makes it spin at uneven speeds because the battery wants to sit towards the back of the droid since it's slanted. So
Weight distribution.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weight distribution issue. So by mounting it close to the center, I don't have any of those problems.
Right.
Head off.
To show you how
All right.
it works. See?
Well, very cool. Well, I'll let you put its head back on. And this is not R2-D2, as you said. This is an R2 model droid.
Right. It's my own personal R2 model, so that he's just my own droid.
Your own droid.
And there's there's several reasons why I chose to do that. There's a lot of people who just want to build R2-D2. Well, everybody builds R2-D2.
Right.
So you go to a convention and there's 5 R2-D2s driving around, and so mine stands out a little bit different. It's a little more personalized. But it also meant that if I wanted to, I can cut corners or make changes. Just a little different. I don't have to make him 100% screen accurate because he's a different R2-D2, a different R2 droid. Like for instance, some of the droids that appeared in background shots in some of the films, instead of having a third hollow projector up here, they had an antenna or something like that.
Right.
I could do that if I wanted to.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it gives me a lot of options.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you're part of an R2 builder club. and they can find that on the web.
Yeah, absolutely. There's astromech.net is one of the main websites for that. There's Yahoo Group, that's R2 Builders.
I'm still part of it,
Yeah.
even though I haven't done anything with my
Right.
own Droid, but
Yeah.
maybe someday.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
And there's a lot of other resources that are out there. There's builders who maintain blogs where they detail everything about the construction from the ground up. So there's tons of information. There's blueprints, there's people buying and selling parts on the forum, there's lots of resources.
And you used a blueprint to build this thing?
No, actually, I didn't even look at the blueprints except just out of curiosity when I was first getting started. Because as long as the parts are made by actual club members, they all fit together because they've made them all the same dimensions and specifications. And it may be up to you to figure out how to make it attach. There may not be any kind of established way to put the two pieces together, but at least they'll fit.
Right.
So, it's solid.
Right. Ed, thank you so much for taking time to talk about your Droid and show us it. We look forward to seeing it next year. Shortly, a little bit more finished, maybe a little bit more complete, or at least tinkered with.
Yeah.
So, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.